Hey, you there?
Hey, I can hear you now.
There we go.
Oh boy. Now if I can figure out how to turn my camera to the other camera, we'll be in business.
Um, do you have a little gear icon?
Yeah, let's see. Oh, here we go. Yeah.
Yeah, just switch to the
There we
front
go.
back.
Wait, that's exactly the same thing. Okay, wait, sorry. Hey everybody, I've never done this before. Hey.
Hey, okay, look at that.
All right. Now, there we go. I think
Me
that's the
see.
thing. Yeah. Um,
Uh,
this is,
me
there
see
we
which
go.
one works best.
There we go. Now, is that going to be saved?
Nope, and we lost it. Nope.
Oh my lord.
It's all right. That looks to be good in frame. Let me see.
Okay. I think I've got it now.
Why can't I? Oh, put you there.
Ugh. It's been a day. How are you
Oh, I'm
doing?
pretty good. Pretty good. Super excited um, that you agreed to hop onto this. Like, I'm geeking out a little bit, to be honest.
Oh, oh
Um,
no, this is gonna be fun. I've never done a live stream painting, so um I've kind of been putting it off, but I knew sooner or later I would. So this seemed like a fun way to jump in, and you can help me out if I fuck anything up.
yeah, no, I mean, it's you got a camera's pointing in the right direction, and you work your magic, right?
Yeah, hope
Um,
so. Hope so.
yeah, yeah. So again, thank you so much for agreeing to do this. It's just happens to be on the same day as Masterpieces drop. So
Yeah,
it's like I said before, serendipitous. And the collector world is buzzing today. That's all I'm
yeah,
seeing on Facebook is box breaks and the art starting to show, and it's magnificent. It's so um, it's
thank
so
you.
nice to see all the characters. I don't have a favorite yet.
You know, it's been, oh wait, is it going? I don't know I'm sorry, I'm getting distracted by trying to figure out what I'm doing here. Yeah, it's been really fun, like seeing people react, but there's like a whole bunch of pieces that I have been really like excited to get to show that I haven't gotten to show yet. And I haven't really even gotten a chance to see uh much of like what people have been pulling or anything. So um yeah, like there's a couple pieces that I think are really fun that I really like, but it's always going to be interesting to see like what other people's reactions are. Uh
Yeah, I'm sure, and I don't think the full set has surfaced. Like, I don't think I've seen all the different cards because there's 135. Is
yeah,
it?
135. Is anybody like, so I come from the Magic collector world, like that's more familiar to me, and I know like there are websites where people will get uh like galleries, image galleries whenever a new set is releasing. I don't know, is somebody like doing anything comprehensive like that for these, or is it just kind of piecemeal, like whatever people happen to post on Facebook and stuff.
I don't know if officially anyone's doing it. I would expect maybe at some point Upper Deck would release like a full
Hmm.
visual of the set. But out
Yeah,
of the collectors, especially in the Marvel Masterpiece collectors group on Facebook, I'm sure there's at least one person cataloging everything as it pops up.
yeah.
Uh,
When because like I'm gonna be, I haven't even gotten a chance to do it yet. I'm gonna be putting up a gallery of the art without any like card frames or anything. But I don't know how many of them are going to be in my gallery. I doubt I'm going to have all of them in there. But maybe I'll do some kind of uh, like a small collected group or something, just for a complete image. Yeah, I don't know. God, I haven't even really thought about that yet.
yeah, do you know if there's any plans? I guess I'm jumping the gun here. Any plans from Upper Deck side or maybe from your side to release a book on this?
I can't say what's going to happen with that other than I really want it to happen. And I wish I knew more, but it's a possibility, but I don't know if or when that'll be happening.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I mean,
But yeah.
yeah, like personally, I'm trying really, really hard not to collect. And it's a struggle. I'm telling you, it's a struggle, especially this morning. I've done nothing all day but watch box breaks. Watching the cards pop on, like, oh, if any of my local stores have some, I'm gonna go in. But it, I have the book from Juiceco and the
Oh yeah,
Alchemy.
likewise. Yeah.
Yeah, so if there's a book for this, I'm in the pre-order there.
Yeah. Well, and, I mean, there's so many things about the group that I think would work really well in that format. And um, given how limited certain cards are with like the tier fours and the I'm not sure how limited the chase cards are, but I have to assume that they're also kind of hard to come by if you were like a completionist. And so yeah, for that alone, I feel like just a volume with everything in it at a accessible price point is something that yeah, that's definitely like something I would love to see happen. So fingers crossed.
Yeah, and I'm just looking at the comments here. Now people asking if you do books, will you have signed versions? And a hardcover book is a must. So there's definitely interest for it, right?
Yeah. Oh, I should hope so. I mean, a lot of the time I just am guided by the things that I think are going to be cool and then hope that other people agree with me.
Well, it's
But
worked out pretty well so far, I gotta say.
oh yeah, and the sketch card images too. Yeah, I need to be posting more of those. Yeah, now that everything is public. And then now for the variants, they only do that for the base set, right? The the sketch card variants that
Oh,
uh
the preliminary art
I'm
variants?
sorry, I'm jumping all over the place. Yes, okay. Sketch cards or sketch cards, and then the preliminaries are just for the base set variants. Yes. Yeah, I haven't shown any of my sketch cards yet. I should put some of those up too.
Yeah, the people dying to see that. I mean,
Yeah.
I think that the sketch cards seem to be one sketch card per box.
But
So just
yeah, and I saw the
and
list of artists, which is really impressive. Uh
yeah, it's 140 somewhat artists. So there's going to be a lot of sketch cards out there.
yeah, yeah.
So I mean, I've watched maybe a dozen box breaks so far. So only a handful of sketch cards have surfaced. Nothing of yours yet
Hmm.
that I've seen, but yeah, I'm itching to see your sketch work as well.
Yeah. Well, if I'm remembering correctly, I think I did 25. So hopefully it'd be really cool if one of them turns up today. But I don't know the math on that. I have no idea like what the odds are, but
Yeah, and if any of them are actually making it to the EPAC release versus the physical release.
I
I
hope
don't know
that
if you,
yeah. I guess hmm, I really think that the most fun way to get something is when you open up the box and it's in there. But I guess there is also the possibility that some people will be keeping boxes unopened, and so stuff will sit, uh, undiscovered in unopened boxes here and there. Whereas it seems like the e-packs is a guarantee, like those sell out and everybody opens them, right?
Yeah, I don't think anyone's sitting on virtual pack.
Yeah.
Maybe. Don't. It's possible, right?
I don't know why. I mean, so honestly, like that stuff is all so new to me, and it's been great listening to Norin and Ian uh, the past few months, and really, or actually, I guess it's getting on to about a year now that I started listening to the show pretty late in 2019, and yeah, like I didn't know anything about e-packs at all. I'd never heard of any of that, and so. Um, I feel like they've helped catch me up a little bit anyway, but there's still a lot of things I think probably would only truly make sense if once you actually do it. And so
Right.
I feel like everything that it's all like me asking a question like, oh yeah, is this how it works? Correct me
There's
if
a
I'm
learning
wrong.
curve. Right? I mean,
Yeah,
it's a tool, right? Like Apex, an online tool, like everything else. It's got its own process and um, like how it works.
yeah,
Um, I'm not collecting much, so I'm the wrong person to ask or comment about how EPAT works and odds and whatnot. But there does seem to be a massive community there.
yeah,
There will be the I'll call them virtual collections, though a lot of the cards can actually be redeemed for the physical card. So it's not like you don't get a card in every case.
yeah. Well, that was the thing that I think before I understood how it worked, I was just like, I don't know. This seems weird that you're just like collecting kind of like digital stuff. But yeah, then when I learned about that stuff, it was like, oh, okay, I get it. That sounds cool. And the way that people can instantly trade with each other and then get their stuff mailed to them sounds like that sounds really cool.
Yeah,
But
because it makes a global marketplace,
yeah,
especially if you're trying to complete a collection. But there is, and somebody in the comments is probably going to correct me or will correct me if I'm wrong. Uh, Tops has a virtual product, I believe, which is all digital. Like there's no physical cards.
okay.
Um, so I'm not sure how that works, except that there's no physical component to any
I
of the
mean, I guess
collections.
it just yeah, it's like different collectors are into different stuff or think about it in different ways. And yeah, like to me, like I don't know how much appeal there would be in collecting a like an exclusively virtual thing, but you know, I haven't tried it, so I guess I couldn't
Yeah.
say.
Um, so what are you working on today?
This is part of a series that I've been kind of poking at for I'm trying to think. I was working on it for a couple years, just like here and there, and then I haven't gotten to do much with it in the past. I only just started getting back into them in the past few months, but there was like a big gap of time where I just didn't have any uh, personal stuff going on, and so the the series is all these paintings that are kind of like ritual and witchcraft and kind of like people in strange outfits out in the woods doing mysterious things that have like a lot of people seem to see it as having a vaguely horror kind of vibe, although I personally I get where that's coming from, but also there's never anything actually like uh, overtly ominous happening. It's more just kind of um,
So
I
it's
guess
just
just
the
the vibe of it.
action,
Yeah,
right?
the mood and everything is very kind of um, dark, but yeah, as a kind of like a side, there's most of the paintings for that are more of these kind of like uh, multi-figure scenes, like color multi-figure scenes. But then, as like a side project to my side project, I'm doing these kind of monochromatic, almost like character studies. Um, and these are like something that I think are fun to do, where I can just kind of like sit down for a little bit, like perfect for something like this, where I can kind of sit down with it and work on it a little while, and
You don't
not
need to
have to
be
be too invested in, like, because a lot of the time when I'm sitting down to work, I want to plan like, okay, I'm going to be here for the next 6 to 8 hours. I don't want to get distracted or interrupted or anything that's going to make me have to stop when I'm like my head's really in it. But something like this is meant to go very quickly, and so I can just kind of spend some time with it and then get on to other things that I have to do.
right. Yeah, it looks really good. It's
And this
yes.
just going to be it's just going to be monochrome, just doing black and white here. Although it's got a little bit of a color tint underneath, but it's pretty
Right.
subtle.
And so when you do your prelim work, which this
Hmm.
is kind of what it looks like, and I think for if I remember correctly, for the masterpieces ones, you did everything on a red tone.
Yeah, that's what my sketches are always, uh, cadmium red base, and then I'm working on top with just, actually, so this is not entirely different, except instead of the cadmium red base, I'm working on a more kind of monochromatic um, oil block in. But yeah, I'm just working with lamp black and titanium white oils on top of that, and that's the same as the way I would be doing those.
So I can't remember where, but somebody was asking, wondering why the red?
It started originally as kind of an accident. I used to do all my sketches digitally, which didn't really make sense because I don't enjoy working digitally. I never do finished work in that medium, but it just was a kind of like a quick and convenient way to manipulate an idea, like play around with the idea and uh, deliver it quickly to a client.
Yeah.
And then I had there's an artist who had given me a couple of drawings, and it was that kind of situation where uh, we didn't really know each other terribly well. We'd met a couple of times, and I asked if these drawings were for sale, and he just gave them to me, which I was like, oh, well, I I need to give you something in return. Like, that's very generous, and yes, I'll take them, but what can I give you? And he was like, well, uh just give me some books. He was like, just send me some books to read. And I was like, okay. And then I think I didn't send him anything for like a year, because the whole time I'm just like, I don't know what books to send. And it feels like that's not like it. I need to send something really good, because like he gave me original art, and I'm just gonna like send him some books that I've already read that are just sitting on my shelf. And so I was really kind of like collecting a bunch of different things that I thought, like, maybe he'll like this, maybe he'll like that. And one of the books was a not a first edition. It was a first English edition of Planet of the Apes, which um, felt appropriate because the drawings that he'd given me were both drawings of baboons, and so I was like, okay, that's a good book to give him. And then it occurred to me just that it would be a fun thing to do a painting on the book itself, like take off the dust jacket and paint um, like an human ape kind of mix, like
Right.
anthropomorphized isn't quite right, but you know what I mean, like an evolved ape
Yeah.
holding a machine gun. And I wanted to do it in this way that looked like an old-fashioned cover, where they would have like basically just a three-color process with black, white, and a spot color. And I was particularly thinking, I don't know if you know the NCY end papers from Treasure Island, where all the pirates are running up the beach, and it's like all just in black and white, and then the beach itself is kind of like a gray color, and the sky is this really intense flat yellow, which always struck me as a really cool graphic. And um, so I just decided
Yeah,
to do this.
I'm vaguely familiar. I got to look it up after, but I think I know what you're
Oh
talking about.
yeah, it's a really cool painting. I that whole series is one that I really love, and definitely like a big inspiration for a lot of things I've done over the years. But that seemed like okay, this is a fair return I can give him, as like a book with a piece of art on it. And so I decided to do the ape in black and white with the background in red, and it just was really fun to work on. And it turned out I've done a bunch of other books with paintings on the cover since then, just because it was like accidentally kind of turned out to be a fun series to work on. Um, and
Happy
I've done them
accidents,
with,
right?
yeah, it's and just kind of like follow it through and see where it goes. And I've tried uh, different colors for like whatever that basically the spot color is going to be. And red always just seemed to work the best. And I realized later in thinking about it, like when I'm trying to figure out like, well, how come red always works so well? Like uh, nothing else really, like blue and yellow and green always just seemed kind of like to not quite, it just didn't quite add as much to the piece. And I realized that red is um, such a perfect color because it's really a mid-tone, so I can push darker and lighter on top of it, as opposed to like, if I was working on like a yellow cover or something, it's so bright that I can't really get too much higher in value than that. But at the
Yeah,
same time,
unless
the
it's
red
always
is,
pure white.
yeah, yeah, and like the blue would, I could get a good mid-tone of blue, but the chroma is not as intense with it, so it didn't really give as much of a kind of temperature shift. And that's the thing, like as doing those sketches as value studies, starting with the mid-tone is the most important thing, and then the next thing that helps is having that intense chroma, so that the more opaque the black and white paint gets on top of it, the more it kind of shifts to a cooler color. And if I paint really thin on top of it, it gives a warmer color. So I'm getting still a little bit of like a temperature variation, and a little bit of a spot color to play with when I want to leave some red in there. So yeah, it just kind of turned out to, as an accident, to be like a really efficient way to kind of describe a scene in tones and shapes. And then once I'd done a few of those as little book covers, it just occurred to me like I should be doing my prelims this way, because it's a much closer uh, idea of what the finished painting is going to look like. And I think that as a way of communicating with a client, like when I would show them my digital sketches and then I'd show them my finals, the jump in medium sometimes seemed to kind of give people the wrong expectations of where things were going to go. And once I started doing everything in paint, it just felt like uh, it worked a lot better. Like there were less surprises. There was less often that a client would be expecting to see something uh, in a way that wasn't what I intended it to be like.
Right. Yeah, I mean, it's interesting to hear kind of the journey as to how you got there. Um,
A little
and
long-winded,
why,
but
why you do it. No, it's not that I'm going to just it's just it's always, to me anyways, it's almost always very educational and entertaining to see that a lot of the techniques and a lot of the processes that the pro level artists like yourself, um, they do certain things, certain approaches, and it's not because that's what they taught you in school or you read in a book. It's just because of your own kind of experimentation, and like you said, just by accident came across this approach, and it works for me, and it looks really good.
Well, yeah, and I think that uh, that's just over the years. I mean, everybody has to learn a process at the beginning, and I had my process that worked okay, and then over the years you kind of figure out like how to improve it, I guess. Yeah, it's just like those things you learned in school, they'll get the job done, but they might be someone else's solution, and you'll find like, oh, this is much more comfortable for me, or this just goes so much faster and easier. But yeah, it's hard to plan that stuff, of course.
Yeah. So let's just take a look at the comments. JD is saying there's 10,942 boxes, 25 Palumbo sketches, going back to the sketch cards. That's a
Uh-huh.
0.23% chance of pulling one of yours.
0.23%.
Yeah, still pretty good odds.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't know how many people are breaking today, so 0.23% times however many boxes are
Yeah,
opening up
actually,
today, like
something might pop up.
might still be a
Um,
long shot, but be
yeah,
cool if something turns up. How
yeah.
many
Oh,
did you
and
do on this one?
I did 94.
Okay,
I think
so
94
then
happened there.
your odds would be something more like point
0.8.
0.23 would be is almost a
Almost a
wow.
quarter. Yeah.
Yeah. So your odds are like 1%?
Yeah, something around there. Yeah, my math don't ask me to do math. Something like that. I mean, being the world that we live in, I'm sure some people are going to get their deliveries late, so not everyone's going to be able to
Of course,
open
yeah.
today. Um, so we'll see what pops up. I don't know if it's a fully sold out set yet.
I have no idea about that stuff. I'm getting occasionally somebody like messaging me asking like where they can buy it. I'm like, I am not the right person to answer that question.
I
But
just make them, I
the
don't sell them, right?
but the yeah, like the just the conversations I've been following on the Facebook group, it maybe is like overstated because a lot of people are posting because they're having a problem, and yeah, I'm just like, oh man, I hope that everything is a little bit easier once the release day comes. There's so much confusion.
Yeah, like I said, it's the world we live in now with the
Hmm.
shipping and not being able to go to the stores and delays and whatnot. Sure, there's a lot of anticipation that people are hoping to. Here, somebody did the math. 0.85% chance to pull one of mine.
There we go.
um, yeah, there's a lot of anticipation. People just want to get their product. I mean, this is such a highly anticipated release.
Oh yeah.
Um, and probably one of the worst kept secrets in the industry. I think everybody knew about it back in January, but nobody knew when it's going to come out.
Right. Well,
And
I didn't either, to be honest. I was in the dark as far as a lot of the hard details go. So
well, there's so much uncertainty.
yeah,
I mean, when did you finish all of your um,
I
finish everything at the
finished my last piece in early May.
of this year?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, so I don't think they would have been that far behind at all then.
Probably not. I think that yeah, it's like I remember so back in like January or February, the conversations I was having made it sound like the announcement was not too far off. And that's the thing where I just don't know if it's like um because obviously the world was very different in January uh than it was in March. And so if they were planning to announce in the spring and then uh they had to like figure everything out again. Like, what does this do to our release schedule? Who knows? But yeah, so I was just like, by the time that the word finally came down, I was just like, oh, I like I'd been waiting for so long for the announcement to come out because at that point a lot of people had somehow figured it out anyway. Some word
Yeah,
was getting
we'll
around.
touch on that in a second. But yeah,
but but yeah, like when that happened, uh I was getting um occasional emails from people that I would have to honestly just kind of ignore, which I don't like to do. But yeah, it was like I can't answer any questions here until somebody at least announces that this thing exists. So yeah, it was a relief, and it's been a series of every new thing that comes out. And now at this point, now that the set's out, and I don't have to be cagey about what characters are in it or showing any of the artwork or anything, like that's a good feeling because uh, yeah, it's like frustrating, especially with like ones that I was like really excited about wanting to talk uh, about some particular thing, and then it's like, we'll come back to that down the road. you know,
right.
I think somebody's asking me here. It's my favorite historical artist. I don't have one name that pops into my head. Um, a lot of my favorite artists tend to be illustrators, and so NC Wyeth, who I mentioned, uh, JC Leyendecker and Dean Cornwell are both also illustrators that whose work I really enjoy. And there's a lot of the kind of like similar like early and mid 20th century uh,
Right.
artists like that. But historical makes me feel like that's more like
Raphael,
yeah.
the great
And
Renaissance artist.
yeah, I don't know that I have an answer for that. It's one of my favorite art museums that I've ever been to is uh, Musée d'Orsay in Paris, which is right down the road from the Louvre. And it's like I remember going and looking at the Louvre, and that's the Louvre is one of those museums you could walk around seriously, like you could spend a week in there before you get to see all
Oh
the
yeah,
rooms. But I remember my impression of the collection, as amazing as it is, was that they kind of stop right when things start getting interesting, and Dorsey is kind of picking up at that point, like in the kind of like 17th, 18th, and 19th century, and actually, I don't know if they even have any 17th, but like 19th century for me is where a lot of um, like there's some really cool stuff in that museum. The Enigma by Dore. I remember like turning a corner and it's hanging up on the wall, and I'm just like, what the fuck? Like, yeah, yeah. There's uh, Waterhouse also is another. I think Waterhouse is sometimes in the pre-Raphaelite category, but definitely like around that same era. Uh, there's a bunch of those at a museum at the Tate in London. Um, pretty impressive. Oh, and Sargent, of course, which I remember also at the Tate they have the Carnation Lily Rose painting with the little girls standing with paper lanterns in a field. That is a fantastic painting. But yeah, I don't know. That's a it's a rambly answer, but
yeah. No,
somewhere
I
in
mean,
there is.
yeah, there isn't one definitive name that stands out.
Not really, no. And of course, like, your tastes change over time. And I think that when I was first starting, and before I even started learning how to paint, just when I was, you know, uh, just interested in art but didn't really have any experience, I was always really interested in the realists and people who could do that kind of like the pre-Raphaelite painters and the people who could do these like really impressive illusions of uh, textures and like Alma Tadema with his marble and stuff like that. And later, I've come to appreciate more artists that do uh, abstraction and that do, like the more kind of painterly work and the more kind of um, impressionistic stuff and things that are maybe like even like naive styles that I used to think just suggested the person didn't really have much understanding of form. And now when I look at that stuff, I realize that a lot of it is surprisingly sophisticated and it's just doing it a different way. It's like speaking emotionally and not trying to get hung up in. I feel like there's a lot of things emotionally that can't really be expressed very well in a tight realist style. It works so much better in a style like that. So yeah, I don't know. I'm all over the place. It's uh, lots of
But I
different
mean,
types of work have different things to offer.
yeah, I mean, everyone's constantly evolving, and there's no, and speaking personally, which I'm assuming applies to other people, is that there isn't any one specific thing that you can really say, okay, this is the alpha and the omega of what inspires me or what I like. There's different
Yeah.
styles, different interpretations because you'll capture different, you get different emotions or different inspirations from different pieces of art.
When I remember, like I think that a lot of people who definitely like younger people and younger artists tend to be more stubborn in their opinions as being like the right one. And I used to have a real attitude about certain types of art as being just not very well done. And yeah, and I think there was a couple of years where I was working as an art director, and I had to learn the different uses that different styles had, even if it didn't really appeal to me, like why one particular artist would be a good fit for a cover, and you can't just hire the person whose art you personally like the best all the time because they might be they're talking to the wrong audience. And
Right.
I think that really kind of helped me understand in a meaningful way just how there is no uh it's like there's different audiences. If I see a movie I don't like, it's not necessarily that it was done poorly, it's just that it wasn't done for me. And um so
I mean,
yeah, sorry, go ahead.
yeah, art is subjective, right?
Yes.
I mean, there's that component to it, but there's also the fact that different styles, different approaches require different need to be looked at under a different lens.
Yeah.
I mean, you mentioned movies. I mean, you can't, as fantastic as the Avengers and all the Marvel films are, and they're great entertainment. You would come when you compare greatest movies of all time. You can't compare Endgame with Casablanca. They're
And I
both
mean,
good for different reasons.
and some of my greatest movies are movies that someone else would laugh at as being even in consideration. It's like uh yeah, it's which I guess is why so many people have an attitude which I totally get about like the Academy Awards. It's like, you know, this is the kind of movie that everybody can agree is a serious movie and therefore, like is better than and that kind of thing. And
Yeah, and that's not true because that's the movies that the Academy,
yeah,
that
I
group of
mean,
people agrees
yeah,
on.
well, look at us like fans of uh, comic book and superhero art obviously uh have a different calibrated meter of what we enjoy than people who vote on the Academy Awards, maybe.
Yeah, perhaps. Yeah.
But
Um,
yeah, I mean, like I just like an example. I thought that the Dread movie that came out, what was that, like 2012, something like that.
yeah, the
Uh,
Carl Urban one with
yeah,
Haiti, fantastic
yeah,
movie.
like just as a like jumps into my head as like a kind of genre movie that was like, man, that was way better than I was expecting it to be,
Right?
uh, and really like special in some ways that I don't see many movies that feel that way to me. And so yeah, it's like there's like I can't articulate what it is, but there's a thing sometimes that you get from a piece of art that is just like uh, really pushes a button for you. I just watched a movie which I think is a really popular movie in some parts of the world, but I'd never heard of it, called The Castle, which is an Australian movie from like I want to say 2000 or thereabouts,
Okay.
99, and it's a comedy. I just kind of randomly came across it, and it was like that though, where I was just like, I didn't even think the idea of it was that interesting. Is about a man whose um house is right on the edge of an airport, and the airport is trying to basically take the property away from him and his family, and the family's like trying to fight to keep their house. And I'm like, I don't, that doesn't sound appealing or anything, but it seems like everybody in Australia loves this movie, so I'm curious to see what they're into about it. And yeah, like like I'm watching it, I'm like 5 minutes into the movie, I'm like, this is fantastic. This is like one of the best movies I've seen in years. I don't know how everybody doesn't know about this movie here. Like, I don't think
What's
that it
called the
really,
castle? Let me write that down.
yeah, it's called The Castle.
The castle.
And I think it's also one of these things where, like, my wife and I were watching it um, on a night where, just with all the stress of this year and everything, was like, we just wanted something that was like, I just want to feel good for a little while watching this thing. And it was like the perfect movie for that. Like, it's just like, this just feels good. And, and there's like something magic in it. And in that way that every once in a while you find a movie or a song or something that's like just got something magic in it, and you can't describe exactly why this is better for for your personal tastes than something else, but it just works.
Yeah, no, totally get it. Let's see the comments here. Which piece, I guess this is referencing MM20,
Hmm.
which piece was your favorite to work, and which is your favorite finished piece from the set?
I
Which could be the same
think,
one.
yeah. So I can tell you there's a couple pieces that I'm keeping. So probably those are the answer, because it's really hard for me to say just one piece, but I can say there are a few that I was particularly happy with, or that I really had a fun time with. The holofoil version of Deadpool is one that I'm particularly proud of. I don't know if that one has surfaced, but I think in
So is
that
that the
video,
marshmallow one?
I'm sorry?
Is that the marshmallow one?
No, so the marshmallow one is the base set, and I'm happy with that
Okay.
one too.
That's,
But I
I
felt
love
like
them.
there was a lot of pressure. Certain characters I felt like were really kind of particularly difficult because there's such a following for them, or because they have. So like with Deadpool, I felt like he's tough because um, there's like a certain humor that I wanted for those pieces to have, and for one thing, I don't generally do comedic pieces, and so that's tough for me. And I don't know if I really nailed it or anything, but it definitely. I remember when I was working on my sketches for the characters, like some of them were really like, okay, I know what to do for Iron Man, like I know what to do for the Hulk. Like these are pretty straightforward. I feel like I know the character well. I can access the mood that I want to get from this. And with Deadpool, it was always just kind of like second guessing every thought. Like every concept that I'd come up with just felt like I'm pretty sure I saw somebody else already do that joke, or like that was funny yesterday, but I'm looking at it and it's not funny now. So the holofoil one, which I think that there's a bit of my painting, like time lapse painting of it in the video that they put out, and it's Deadpool sitting in like a armchair, wearing a smoking jacket, holding a heart-shaped lollipop, and on the wall behind him are framed photos or framed paintings of himself, and there's a large one that Deadpool is in the Marilyn Monroe centerfold pose from Playboy. Um,
Uh,
and it
I
was something that
haven't seen that one yet.
okay, that was one that I was just like really uh, delighted that they let me do it, and then with how it came out, I was like, okay, this is what I wanted to get out of this one. A couple others. I think a lot of. I'm trying to think. The Cyclops versus Mr. Sinister is one of my favorites. That one's been out. I don't know
Yeah, that one's
if you've
gorgeous.
seen it. There's another one. So some of the characters that were kind of like, I guess you would say like D-listers, like um, not necessarily important. I really wanted to give them the same kind of, uh, I didn't want to shortchange anybody, even if it's just because it's like not one of the most popular characters. And so Pip the Troll was one that I kind of got carried away with. And that one, I don't actually even know that character, to be honest. Like, there were some like Howard the Duck that I was excited about doing because I just, years back was a big Howard the Duck fan. But Pip the Troll, I was like completely unfamiliar with this character. I had to, research him and learn about uh, what his personality is and everything. And that one just turned out to be a really fun piece where I got to work. Some of the models in it are the model for Pip is a friend of mine who I was just like, this guy's going to be perfect for this. He's another artist, Scott Brundage. Um, and I just remember we had like a really ridiculous photo shoot uh, to get the pose for it, and then some of the background characters. My brother and my wife are in there, and then some other friends of ours, and it just is one of those ones where it kind of like in the end I was like, I don't know why I did that painting really really big too. It's like I put way more into this Pip the Troll than anybody is asking for, but it needed it. It's like sometimes it's like this is what the piece needs. Like this is the direction I want to go with it. And so yeah, that's another one that was both really fun to work on and also uh, a favorite that I'm definitely like hanging on to. I don't think anybody's going to be sad that I'm not selling Pip the Troll because I
Oh,
can't
and
imagine that there's a big.
I there was one of the box breaks that, like I said, I watched a lot of them this morning, and somebody
Uh
just totally enamored with it.
huh. Okay.
Yeah,
Well,
because and it's hard to tell on a stream on the little card that someone's holding to see
yeah.
all the detail, but they were just analyzing all the details in the card. So um, yeah,
And that
hoping
one
it's
is
that.
like, that one definitely, like I said, I got a little more into the weeds on that uh, than I probably needed to. So it is like there's a lot going on in there. And I normally like feel like it's not a good idea to have too much going on in these things anyway, because they're so small. But yeah, that one was fun. Um, yeah,
So
has the Colossus holofoil turned up yet? It's such a really tight close up of Colossus's face. That was another fun one to paint.
I don't think I've seen that. I've seen the one where he's carrying a tree trunk.
That's okay. Yeah, that's
Well,
from
not
the
a tree
base
trunk.
set.
So I guess that's the base.
Yeah, yeah, that's like a kind of like a homage to Commando and also Rocky Four. But yeah.
Oh yeah, I see it. Um, you touched on models, and Matt Dickey on both Facebook and YouTube is asking, of course, for Dave, how much of a challenge was it to find models and gather reference for your Marvel set?
I had a lot of time to think about it, and so there were not many characters that I had an issue with. I think I tended to drag my feet a little bit on some of the extraordinarily large characters like the Hulk. I tended to do those paintings later because I wasn't sure how I wanted to approach them. I'm not
Mhm.
used to painting like super muscly guys like that. And but most of the models that I worked with were either um, people who I've already worked with in the past and had a relationship with, or uh, there were a couple of people who I specifically kind of seeked out to work on this because I felt like they would be a really good fit for it. So Pat King, who's been pretty active on the group,
Yeah.
I didn't even realize like in the end like that he really did pose for a ton of these. But it was because like I would get together with him and we'd shoot pictures, and I'd have like maybe 7 or 8 pieces that we'd be shooting pictures for, and then we did that a few times um, over the course of 2 years, and so they in the end it's like turned out to be like, oh yeah, there's a lot of Pat in this set. And
And
yeah,
he's a
there were a
great guy.
couple. He's
Sorry, go ahead.
fantastic. Yeah, I mean, and also like he's a trained stuntman. There were a couple of times where we were doing a shoot, and I'm like terrified that he's gonna, fall off of a chair or a table or something and hurt himself. And he's like, no, no, I'm good, I'm good. I'm like, are you? That looks really uncomfortable to hold that pose. He's like, no, no, I'm good. Like
He's
never
hanging
a
from the
complaint.
ceiling fan, right?
I mean, I really there were times where I was like, oh, we got to figure out a different way to do this. I don't like I don't want you to fall off of that thing. But yeah, he was great. I actually knew him through a model that I haven't worked with in a long time because she moved away. Um, but years ago, uh, a mutual friend of ours wanted to do a photo shoot that was like a cosplay photo shoot for Game of Thrones, and she had made these costumes, and that was how I met Pat. He was uh, I'm not the biggest Game of Thrones fan, but Khal Drogo, I think, is the name of the character. Am I getting that
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Uh,
Jason Momoa's
yeah,
character.
yeah, and yeah, and I'm trying to think. I don't believe that I ever actually worked with him as a model between that and the Marvel Masterpieces thing. I don't think so, but I remember getting in touch with him early on with these, and because I knew that he also did some Marvel, like he worked on a Marvel stunt show um,
He was
back
Wolverine, right?
before any of this. Yeah, I think he might have been a couple of characters. I know for sure he was Wolverine, um, and I think that there might have been a couple other characters, or maybe he like also understudied for a couple characters. Uh, I I don't remember. I never got to see that show, unfortunately, but I did get to see him play uh, on Valentine's Day. He came through Philly with the Jurassic World live show, which we got to go and see, and that was really. He plays like the bad guy in this arena show of Jurassic Park, and
Isn't the bad
that
guy
was
the
pretty
T-Rex?
cool. I'm sorry.
Is that the bad guy was the T-Rex?
No, it's like the later Jurassic Parks where the dinosaurs are like kind of neutral, like they could be good or bad, I guess.
Oh, okay.
But
So
there are
yeah,
definitely bad people trying to use the dinosaurs to do bad things, and so that was his character is like the mustache twirling villain who's trying to kind of like weaponize the dinosaurs, I guess.
right.
Uh, but yeah, that was really fun. Um, yeah, and some of the other models that I worked with were also people that I had never had any uh, contact with prior to this, um, and then kind of discovered them in the process of looking for people who are like, like I need someone for these characters, and I don't really feel like any of the people that I'm already working with are right for them, so I need to find some new people, and usually with that, it was I had pretty good results just by putting the word out on Facebook and or asking other artists I knew if they could recommend anybody. A lot of my local friends have kind of like theater background, and so I was able to get hooked up with some people who are. I always find like dancers and performers, actors, and artists make the best models because they really understand that, like, you know,
What
the
you
performance
try
side of
to
the
get out
thing.
of it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So when you had models for this set, were you able to tell them what they're modeling for, or was it a big secret?
Yeah, I do. I remember that the NDA that I had to sign was probably one of the most serious. I mean, every NDA is pretty serious, but there were vibes of this one is extra uh, serious, and so I remember asking about that, and I was told that this is kind of like anybody who is working in my studio space is kind of by default covered by the same agreement. And so I just had to make sure anybody I was working with understood, like, don't don't tell anybody about this until it's made public. And honestly, like, a lot of them haven't seen, now that the pieces are released, I can uh, show everybody the pieces that they posed for, but a lot of the models aren't seeing anything until, like, I'm posting it up on Instagram. So
Right. So they didn't know that they're posing for Wolverine or
oh yeah, no, I mean, I feel like it's kind of essential to, you know, to get the best performance out of the model, that they know what it is they're doing. So they did know that, but just with the understanding that it was like, you got to keep this under your hat until the news gets out.
right. I can't imagine kind of working in a bubble, really, right? For 2 years, you can't talk about it. You can't show.
Yeah, I mean, I had a lot of concerns about, uh I wasn't sure if the um project was going to go smoothly, because I've never worked with Upper Deck on something like this before. Like, I've worked for Upper Deck back on, like, World of Warcraft stuff for people who don't even work for their company anymore, and that was a long time ago. And that did not go super smoothly. I don't know if you've ever heard any stories about the early days of the World of Warcraft card game, but that thing was a little bit of a
No, no.
it was a little bit of a mess. And I think they worked out the bugs, but I actually didn't have too hard of a time off it. I know some people who had some really frustrating experiences there. But no, I mean, like, everybody that I worked with was super, like, it just, it couldn't have gone better. And I was like, I don't know if I'm going to be like 6 months or a year into this thing and it's just going to be miserable. And after the first few waves of, I was sending things in batches of fives, and after the first few of those, I kind of like, it's like, I think I can rest easy that this is going to go well. And
Think you got that?
yeah, it was really yeah, Sam Padilla and Jennifer Wu, who were the two people that I was pretty much in contact with throughout this whole thing. Um, really just so fantastic to work for, and I've never met either of them in person. Uh, so, but they seem like really good folks, and yeah, but yeah, it's like I'd be going out to conventions, or I'd be going out to workshops or whatever, and yeah, people are talking about their whatever projects they're working on, and I'm just like, that sounds cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been busy on a thing. I don't know. I can't really talk about it.
Don't mind me. Um, let's check up on the comments. I said we'll come back to how um, kind of the great mystery of MM20. So I guess when the sketch cards started getting sent out to the various artists, like the blanks,
Hmm.
some people they somehow made their way to the interwebs.
Yeah,
Um,
the signature, right?
the
Somebody
signature,
had posted one up on eBay, I think. Is
yeah, I
that
mean,
what it
there was
was?
some on eBay and there was some stuff on some forums and some groups, and it just sparked a great debate of, okay, one, okay, MM20s confirms so what's happening, and then who's the artist?
Yeah.
There was one thread I was following, which it was like an episode of CSI, the way people were dissecting the signature. Because the signature on the back of the card, it's not how you sign your art.
No, it's not particularly helpful.
Yeah, well, somebody did figure it out at some point, at one point, and I can't remember what there was one, I might have been a sketch, and I think it was like a pirate ship,
Uh-huh.
and it has
Um,
that signature, like the signature, not the
it might
Paul.
have it almost certainly would have been a magic card because that's how I actually sign things. And so yeah, like if somebody had a magic card with my signature on it, it would be probably
Yeah,
recognizable.
that's what it was. And then I was like, okay, well, it's confirmed, or as confirmed as it could have been at that time.
Yeah.
So then when the set got announced, it's like, yeah, everybody knew it.
Yeah, and that's where it was like it was still like months in between where I was like I would get an email from somebody that'd be like, "So we know that you're going to be the artist, and I just wanted to ask blah 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 blah," and I'd be like, can't confirm or deny."
Yeah,
It's like which is an answer nobody would give unless the answer is yes. So
yeah,
a lot of the time I just couldn't give an answer at all. But
never heard of it.
oh, did you email me? That must have gotten filtered. Sorry.
Yeah, Tim Rails says it was a magic card, and someone in his group figured it out.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
yeah, it
love the
was.
internet sleuthing.
Yeah, it was great. Watching, like I said, like it's like an episode of CSI, and the speculation, and then um, some of the names people are throwing out, and then people are showing pictures of their signatures, and oh, it can't be, it's too long, or
Uh-huh.
they're carried their S to like this or whatever it was.
They
It was pretty
actually
cool.
have recognizable letters in their name. Yeah.
Yeah. Um,
Yeah, well, if anybody's listening who I just ignored your email, my apologies. I just kind of
Can I talk about it?
didn't want to lie to you, but I couldn't tell you the truth. So,
So I know you were a big camera. Is it camera file? What's it called?
yeah, I guess that would be a word.
Is that the word for it?
I
Big
don't
camera
know.
fan.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Is there anything else you collect
Hmm. I mean,
besides
there.
paint and brushes?
uh, Not currently, I don't think. Um, I mean, I have, artwork, but I don't typically collect artwork in an active way, just because it gets harder and harder to um, be able to show everything in the limited space I have in my house. Um, and I used to collect comics, but that was a long time ago. I still have my old Marvel cards from way back. But yeah, I think cameras is kind of the main thing. And I always even hesitate to say that I collect cameras, although it is the truth because I have vastly more cameras than I actually need. And so we got to be honest with ourselves here, right?
How many cameras does one really need?
One is probably the
Maybe
correct
two.
answer. Yeah, and maybe if you have like obviously once you start getting multiple cameras, you realize like, well, this one is good for this purpose, and this one is, I really love using this camera, but it's not practical for whatever. I would say anything more than three or four, and you're starting a collection. And yeah, I've got like 30-ish which is
Yeah,
too
that's a
many.
collection.
Too many. I've actually just in the past couple of days I've been putting some stuff up on eBay. Um, I've been kind of trying to like, if there's things that are like, I'm definitely not using this anymore and I don't have any attachment to it and it's just taking up space, somebody else could be benefiting from this, so I'm going to put it out there in the world. So I made myself like a big inventory, like everything I've got, and then go through it and decide like what I want to keep and what I want to get rid of. And like this is how you know you've got too many of a thing is like 3 days afterwards, I'm still like, oh, I forgot about that one. Oh, this one, yeah, this one also should be on that list, so it's it's a little silly, but
Um, so,
it's a fun.
do you? I mean, you actively shoot. I think you mentioned it on one of the interviews
I
you did.
do, yeah. Just, I mean, the reason that I ever had any of them at all is because I need them for shooting models and artwork. But yeah, when I'm taking pictures just for my own enjoyment, then that's that's a different thing, and that's more recent that I've been doing that just in the past couple, few years, I guess.
Mhm.
And honestly, like the whole having too many cameras thing is kind of recent too, because that was when I started getting into shooting with film instead of digital. Because all of a sudden there's like 100 years worth of camera history out there that you can start exploring, and it's really fun to use something that's like 80 years old and still creates like really beautiful images. So
Yeah, and there's something to be said as to how every single camera of the call them the analog cameras,
mhm.
they all handle the film differently, and you could shoot the exact same picture, same lens, same exposure, aperture, lighting on on an old Fuji and an old Canon, you get a completely different picture.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the biggest difference there comes from lenses. It's the optics that really are going to change the character. And the biggest difference I find in the actual camera bodies is the experience of using them. And that's going to change how you shoot too. Like certain cameras are really easy to use for certain types of images, but a pain in the ass and impractical for others. But yeah, that's where it's like, and especially a lot of those older pieces are 100% fully mechanical. It's all just like gears and springs,
Yeah,
which is super cool, and also means like even though it's really old and maybe has been sitting in a closet for 50 years and nobody's used it, a little bit of oil and you know opening it up and you know tinkering with the things that need to be kind of relubricated and everything, and you've got it working again, and that's really gratifying.
yeah. There's no sensors, there's no chips, there's no
And I mean, it's I
you
don't,
need to
yeah,
deal with.
it's I again, it's like certain things that something like that is not very practical for, but if you're working slow, and a lot of the time when I'm shooting pictures just for my own enjoyment, there's no urgency to it, and a lot of the pictures I'm taking are more like environmental portrait and landscape type of stuff, and so you can go out with a big clunky ass camera that needs to be set up on a tripod and uh, you know really kind of like take your time with it, and yeah, it's 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 a fun thing that also feels like the more I do it, I'm still kind of like thinking about and learning more about visual expression. So I get to kind of uh, have a hobby that also feels a little bit like I don't have to feel totally guilty about it. Although it's
It's
kind of
not.
sick culturally that we have to feel guilty about stuff that we find fun, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, that's a whole different conversation. That yeah, don't get me started on that. Um, so there was a comment that I missed. Going on about Silk. Um, yeah, the Killmonger versus Black Panther that popped
Hmm.
up. Well, apparently everything popped up today. Everything's been someone's seen something. That
Oh, that was
one's
on my Instagram yesterday, I think. But yeah, I mean, everything is up today.
yeah. Somebody saying that basically they've seen everything. Um, um, yeah, everything so far, but a few hollow foils, battle spectra, and three T4. I guess tier fours.
Yeah.
So I think by the end of the day in EST, everything would have popped up, and we'll hopefully start seeing some of the sketches.
Yeah. Well, and that's what I don't even know. Like those tier fours, I know they're numbered from 100 or 99 or whatever. And then I guess there's parallels of those. I don't know how it all works, but I know that they're tough to get. But
Yeah, I mean, just rarity.
yeah,
Um, so Tim's asking, will you collect your own set? Is Upper Deck sending you any packs to open?
I don't know what I'm getting. I'm gonna wait and see what I get from them. Um, yeah, I know I'm getting something. I just don't know the details. And I've
You should
seen the
totally.
cards in person at this point because they sent me the ones to autograph. That was really cool, just seeing them, you know. I
Oh,
didn't know
the
how thick
actual
they were
print
going to
of them.
be. Yeah, did I get the autographs before? I guess I got the sketch cards before I did the autographs, but it was still like something about just the weight of the cards and everything that like super thick stock that they're printed on. Um, and I thought the what ifs, seeing the what ifs was really cool. It's always neat to see. That's something just like in general, I always enjoy seeing like once the type and everything is placed on top of a cover that I've done or whatever, you know, like usually
Yeah.
art looks really cool when you put some design on top of it, if it's good design. So,
So did you have any say in the design?
oh no, that's,
No.
and that's for the best. I'm not a designer. Uh, I try to stay out of that stuff as, I mean, not that I would, not that there's any reason that I would have ever been involved in that with this, but even like if I'm doing a commission for a self-publishing author or something, I always tell them I'm going to give you a great painting, and then you're going to have to hire a good designer to make a cover out of it because that's not a skill that I feel comfortable. Seems like it's something that shouldn't be that hard, and then you try to do it, and it's just like, wow, this is this doesn't look good.
Probably gets amplified when you're working with your own art as well, I would imagine.
I guess that might make it harder. Yeah. Um, I know some artists who do both things. Back I mentioned that I used to be a art director for a kind of mid-level publisher, and uh, there was an artist named Cody Tilson who I always really enjoyed when I got to work with him because he would do integrated design and artwork together.
Yeah.
And some of my favorite stuff that we ever did was the covers that he worked on because he really knew how to plan it from the beginning so that everything just looked amazing.
Oh, just mashed.
Yeah, like I mean, integrating the type into the pictures and things like that in a way that isn't really um, possible to do when you've got different people. Like, I mean, you know, most of the time you do your painting and then you turn it in, and somebody else who's never seen the artwork before then has to figure out what the design solution is going to be on top of it. So when you got one person who's planning it all out as one piece, you know, like you could do some pretty cool stuff with that.
So, so when you do covers, like book covers or comic book covers, you don't have the um, like the layout of where the type's gonna go and all the branding.
It depends. So with a comic cover, probably that's already established and they have a template, and hopefully what you're doing is going to fit the template. Although sometimes, like they can still be kind of playful with having lettering go behind the the figures and that kind of thing. But no, yeah. So like I've done a bunch of um, covers for Dark Horse that were like that, where they had um, like I've been working on this same title for a dozen or 2 dozen pieces, so I know what the template is. And in those cases, when I'm doing my sketches, I actually have like a transparent layer in Photoshop that I can drop on top of it to make sure everything is going to work once it's hidden behind the type elements.
Right.
Um, in regular publishing, like novels and that kind of thing, it's usually more kind of custom fit, unless you're going to be working on a series that's like, if you're doing like Wheel of Time or something like that, where they uh, have like a kind of like a consistent look running through all the books, and then in that case you'd be probably planning around that. But otherwise, it seems to me, I don't know exactly if I'm wrong about this. It's just not my problem, so I don't know. But it seems to me like I turn in my final art, and that's the point where the designer starts mocking up different ideas. I mean, it's the
That's
kind of
not my
thing.
problem.
It's not. It's true though. I always thought that, like I remember I did a cover. I only ever did one cover for Orbit Books, but I remember the process was really smooth on my end, but it took a really long time. And uh, the art director at one point was like, I'm sorry this has been such a thing, like it shouldn't go like this, but it's just like our sales meetings are particularly intense with this title, and so it's taking longer. And I'm like, I'm fine, it's like I'm not I turned it in, and now I'm just like waiting for feedback. It's not like I have to do anything. And it wasn't until later that I saw that she had done like, I don't know, 60, 50 or 60 um, mock-ups of different like styles of design to go on top. And
Oh,
yeah, and I was just like, oh man, this is like really like this is a ton of work for you. Like it's
over
not
the
a big deal
same,
for me, but yeah, because
yeah, over the same art, right?
yeah, just like all these different options that they were showing to their salespeople, so that they could
Wow.
decide like what packaging they wanted to go with. But basically, like the cover art didn't change. I mean, it would get cropped differently here and there. And I think ultimately, when they found a direction, I did have to go in and like make some adjustments to fit with the design they wanted to do. But yeah, it was like, wow, it's just like a peek behind the curtain at how much work goes into doing the design, that I just, it looks easy when you see the finished thing, but I really respect that it is anything but. It's like a real process, I'm sure.
A lot of work and planning and thought goes behind it.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, most of the time, I guess.
I think I think just about. I mean, it's probably similar to doing what we're doing also, where sometimes it just, I'm sure there are times when it just happens. It just all comes like clicks into place, and you don't, you know, you don't know why this one just kind of came together like that. But yeah, most of the time I expect it's a lot of legwork and uh, just kind of trying different iterations until you get it just right.
Right. Um, Oh, and let me know how you're doing on time because I'm not really watching.
Yeah, I'm doing good. I think I'm gonna probably see if I can get through to where I want to stop on this piece, and then maybe like make my exit from there. But
Yeah, and just let me know when you need to move on. Um, what I want to ask you on the sketch cards, can you share what characters you did?
I
Just
I think so, right? You would know better than I would, because this is the first time I've done this. You've done this a lot, haven't you?
yeah, I've done like 9 sets, but I think
So did they
my
get bent out of shape
rules
about that?
about what
If you like show what you've done before people find it?
well, usually I'll get an email saying, okay, now you can show all your work.
Okay.
Um, but sometimes I don't. I don't get an email. So
Okay.
there's a couple of sets that I never got that email, but they're sold out, so it doesn't matter. That's what I'm asking. Like, I don't know if you're, and I'm not sure if the rules that apply to sketch artists would apply to the actual
I mean,
base artists. So,
I don't
I
know. All
mean,
the sketches that I did were through I think it was Ali. I'm assuming the
okay,
same person that you were working with because
yeah,
it was a different department, and so I believe I was just interfacing with the normal sketch card people there. I didn't have as extensive contact with them, so I don't know what the normal way of doing things are. Yeah, I never got that email either. So you said you didn't get that email?
no, not yet,
Okay.
because I don't always get it.
Yeah.
Um, but at a certain point, once the cards pop up on eBay, then it's like,
Yeah.
yeah, fair enough. I'm sure it's okay for me to say that I've done this.
Yeah.
Um,
I think, I mean, a lot of the ones I did were kind of like the ones you would expect, like a Spider-Man and uh, like the kind of like core characters.
yeah.
But I also tried to do a couple that I didn't get commissioned in the regular set. Uh, Everybody's been disappointed that there was no Psylocke, but there is a sketch card Psylocke somewhere out
Oh,
there
there you go.
floating
I'm gonna
around.
start chasing that.
I did a Cloak and Dagger, which was fun. Um, I don't know. I'll have to go. Yeah, I'll have to go and
Yeah,
I have scans of everything, so I'll have to start sharing
don't want
those
to
if this one.
get you in trouble with the boss, right?
No,
So
no, I'll have to I'll check and see if there's any reason that I can't do that. But yeah, it seems like I just assumed that once the thing is out, it's out, So I don't know for sure.
yeah, like I said, I don't know, and maybe they're holding some stuff out for some stuff back for EPAC
Hmm.
for the EPAC release.
Well,
So
I'm sure that they probably are holding some back, but I don't know if that necessarily means that you
well,
can't show it.
somebody was saying that Simone's sketches for 2018 were only EPAC.
Really?
Yeah, and if I remember correctly, that did cause quite a disturbance in the collector world.
Yeah, it seems a little unfair.
Um, so, yeah, not knowing the inner plans there, I don't want to speak out of
Well,
turn.
yeah. I mean, I can't speak out of turn because I don't know either.
And there was something else. And maybe it was one of the comments. Sorry.
What is the Black Panther that you're working on there for?
Just for no reason. Actually, no, it's not true. On a stream that I hopped on last week, they did a fundraising for the Colon Club of America,
Okay.
where it's Sean Forney, who also worked on some sketch cards. He also worked on a bunch of other things. Rodney Fike. So they have a weekly stream, and they're doing this fundraising thing. And I said, hey, I'd like to hop on if I can, but I wasn't sure if I could, if I had the time. So I
Hmm.
started this sketch because I was going to put it in for the fundraiser just in case I couldn't make the stream. I did end up making the stream, and I did a different one on the live stream. But then
Okay.
I did end up with the pencils for this, so I said, let me slap some paint on it. But yeah, uh, just for fun. So, you have any advice for artists, sketch card or not, that are trying to get into the industry, the whole
Uh,
sci-fi art,
it's,
illustrating?
that's a question that I always really want to answer, but I also feel really poorly equipped. Um, just because it just seems like everything is so different than when I was starting out, and I don't know that I necessarily uh,
Give
know
a
how
thought.
it works anymore. Yeah, I mean, so I came in just like I started going out to conventions with my portfolio and talking to art directors, artists, representatives from companies that had a booth presence, just anybody I really could get feedback from. Um, and this was in like 2006, I guess. 2005, I remember, was the first year I went to Comic Con, but I also discovered that I was very underprepared. And I came back the next year with like a proper book. And at this point, like it just seems like there's so much more uh, online resources for people to kind of like get their stuff seen and also learn like what opportunities there are so that you can kind of be more focused in who you're trying to. I mean, like I was just trying to get work from any place that I could, and uh, a lot of the directions that I have taken in my career have been kind of like trying to steer as best I can, but also just riding the current, and following whatever opportunities come my way and trying to make the most of them.
So, who was your first call it break?
I think it's a strange question to answer. I remember my very first job, um, which was for a video game company, Acclaim, that doesn't exist anymore. But if you're into like old Nintendo games and stuff, you might remember them. But
Yes, and
I
it's AKL, right?
I think so.
It's like a weird.
Maybe no, no.
No?
I think it was with a C, but I don't remember. But anyway, it was kind of like a fluke job to get, and the uh, art I did like two pieces for them that I don't even know how they ever got used. I think one of them might have been a promotional piece in a magazine or something, like spot illustration basically. It's only noteworthy because it was like my first job, but it really didn't go anywhere, lead to anything. And then I remember I was doing some book covers. I did some stuff for like kind of, again, like mid-level publishers. Um, I was getting sometimes there's another artist named Dan DeSantos who does a lot of cover work, whose work is his painting style is uh, similar enough to what mine was like at that time that every once in a while, if he would get approached to do something and he was not interested, he would ask if I was interested in doing it. Usually it was something that either paid below his rate or he was just too busy to take it. So I remember some of my earliest stuff that I did was things that I got through Dan, and something that I've tried to do myself over the years. If I can't take a job, I usually try to recommend someone who I think would be good for it, because I remember that was really helpful to me.
Just
Um,
pay it
yeah,
forward.
yeah, and I mean, it's like it helps everybody, because a lot of the time, the the client, like they might not necessarily know that, oh yeah, this person would be great for what we're trying to do, and so yeah, it's usually pretty, I think, helpful to all parties involved. And and I'd been trying to get work with Magic at that point for, I think I started showing them my portfolio in 2006 at that Comic Con I went to. I remember very clearly what my review went like. I did not get hired, but they gave me some really good feedback. I remember the review particularly just because I happened to be the person who they talked to right after they talked to Jason Chan. Jason Chan is like one of like the big top Magic artists for years, and so
Is he still
they
active
looked
with
at.
them?
I don't know if he's still doing it. Like, I really never stayed in touch with him. He was somebody that I knew very casually, but was never really like friends with. And I just remember like we were both waiting for our reviews together, and he went before I did, and they were like, "Oh my God, this is amazing! We've got the perfect project for you. When you get back, like after the show, get in touch with us. We're ready to set you up with this thing." And then my book, they're just looking through. They're like, "Oh, okay, um, yeah, maybe if you want to like bring us some new work next year, and you want to think about like making your designs a little more unique." It's just like really kind of basic. Like, it was helpful advice and stuff I needed to hear, but I just remember like, oh, my
Yeah,
timing was not good.
we
But
like what you're doing, but if you could do it differently, that'd be
yeah,
great.
please keep submitting,
Yeah,
and maybe one day it'll work out. Yeah, and so yeah, it was like 2 years later that I finally got some work from them, and I was just every time I would be going to a show, I think I would generally get to see them at San Diego and at New York Comic Con, and so I would make sure that I had like a whole new book to show each time, so that they weren't seeing the same pieces they'd already given me feedback on.
right.
And
And is it the same the same art directors or editors?
actually, the review, that very first review I got, was a different art director, and I don't know why. She was I think she just happened to be the person who was available, because back then they only had one person who was commissioning Magic, and I think the person who did my review was she was still an art director, but she wasn't the person who I would have been working with. She was in a different department, but certainly her opinion was, every bit as informed. She just wasn't the Magic art director. And when, yeah, because I remember then like reviewing with him a year later, and he gave me some very kind of, again, like really specific things to pay more attention to. And then I reviewed with him a year after that, and he was like, "Yeah, we got some stuff for you. We'll, you'll be hearing from us." And I feel like, as far as like it was like, a couple years into me like trying to, be like building a client base and everything, but that was kind of the first like milestone client, I think, that comes to my mind, um, as far as like somebody that I ended up working with for a really long time, and that they uh, that it led to other things, working with them, uh, was just like yeah, more kind
That's a
of like
good
important than doing a couple random covers for, a middle grade publisher that does like books that
Harlequin
nobody
romances.
reads except for like 12-year-olds. you know but it's and I don't mean to sound dismissive, because like I was always happy to just be like
But
finding new people to work for, and but yeah, Magic was one that I really very, very actively wanted to be a part of. And then Tor Books was another one like that. It just announced a few days ago, actually. I just did a trilogy for Folio Society, which was one that like still like there's always like other clients that like, man, they do really cool stuff. I hope I get to work with them. And so
Right.
that was a recent one.
Are you still active on the Magic Art?
I had to take some time off, but I am gonna there will be new stuff coming out. Yes.
I just recently, it was in some group chat I was on a couple of days ago, and one of the guys is a big Magic original art collector.
Yeah.
That's if you think the trading card guys are hardcore, that's
Oh
nothing
no.
compared. The Magic guys are crazy.
Oh yeah, yeah. No, I mean that's I shouldn't say that I feel like at home in that world, because it is definitely like uh I never quite feel like I have my footing as far as figuring out that particular market. But yeah, I've learned a lot just from the years that I've been uh, kind of selling to that crowd, and it's really interesting to see how it works. It's its own little ecosystem, in some ways like very separate from the rest of illustration. I guess comics are like that too, but I don't have that much experience there.
Yeah, I mean, again, going back to what we were saying before with the various niches, and like I know just kind of in passing, like the Pokemon world is huge
Oh
from
yeah, that
this
makes
point of
sense.
view, and like I'm sure some of the art, I don't know what it's like with the art there, but I mean that's a style that I can't like even fathom to dip my toe into, because I just don't get the fundamentals of the cutesy art. And I'm not judging it
Yeah.
in any way. Like I'm totally not
No, no,
judging it.
no.
And it
That's
just, but
yeah.
the people that do that kind of art, that kind of style, I mean, that's
Well, and
not
that's
simple.
touching on the idea we were talking about earlier of like, there's different audiences, and there's strange overlap sometimes. The kinds of things that one person will be into uh, that don't all necessarily connect with each other. But yeah, I feel like that's the kind of thing. There are certain things that I feel like, uh, yeah, you know if you get it or you don't, and if you don't get it, it's really hard to do it.
Yeah,
I feel like I don't. I was a little. I think Pokemon was just a little bit um, younger audience than me at the time that it started hitting. Like I just barely missed it, and so I feel like I never really like I don't understand it, and I never really learned it, but I do
right.
respect it.
Well, if you look in, um, oh, Ian Taylor's on now. I think he was kind of in and out before. Hello,
Hey,
sir.
Ian.
Um,
It must be the. I guess it's not quite the middle of the night there. What is it? 6 hours?
yeah, so it's got to be like almost 9 p.m. in his time.
Yeah.
Um, but we're saying like you being part of the Marvel Masterpieces set, it's bringing in a segment of the Magic collector that may not have been usually looking at a superhero set,
Yeah,
right?
it's interesting because like I see just on Facebook like people who it's like, oh, I know that person. I know that person, who I'm seeing like welcomed as when Ian does the let's say hello to our new members this week kind of thing. And I look at the
Right.
list, I'm like, oh, I know like 6 people on this list. So
Right. So between the Marvel Masterpiece 20 bringing in the fans of the Magic group, and then there's
uh-huh.
another set being released at some point soon called Marvel Anime.
Oh yeah, those are gonna be cool. Yeah.
Yeah, Peach, because I can't pronounce the last name, but it's going to bring in that audience of the anime fans, the ones that, to a certain degree, um, are, the Pokemon world, the Dragon Balls, and I'm totally
Yeah.
detached in that world. But from all of those franchises. Just um, the art style on the cards being so different. Um, and it's interesting because I've seen the response um, from collectors in the groups. They're really hyped for the most part for anime.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I don't think it's hard to see why. They look like they're going to be super cool.
Yeah, I mean, it's
But
great art, fantastic design. The aesthetic on some of those uh, chase sets is like really cool with the black cards, and there's
yeah,
ones like these little tiny ones that you crack open.
uh-huh.
Um, a lot of Japanese culture references and stuff that's popular on that side of the world. So
I
um,
guess it is like refreshing and a bit of a relief to see when they're doing something kind of a little different like that, and then people are into it. Because yeah, like there's that like it's nice to see that people uh aren't just like stuck in the thing they know, kind of a box,
yeah,
you know.
yeah, give me my hologram cards and my numbered sets and leave me alone. Uh, um, and you got to give props to Upper Deck for trying different things. I mean, even
Yeah.
with some of the inserts and some of the different things that they've done over the years with the chase sets,
Hmm.
uh, that some worked better than others and had better receptions than others, but they are trying to break the mold and get different things,
Yeah. Yeah.
appeal
It's
to different
all
audiences. Yeah.
it's really I'm gathering that a lot of it is because of changes that have happened with the sports cards uh in the past, I guess, like 10 to 20 years, but it's just such a different approach than what I remember like back when I used to collect them, you know. I mean, I was collecting them in the early 90s, and it was uh in some ways almost like unrecognizable from the way that they do it now.
Well, yeah, I mean, if you look at the first masterpieces, it was 99 cards and a couple of the Battle Spectras, which in
Hmm.
Canada we call the metallic ink for some reason. Um,
Metallic ink.
yeah, but
Okay.
I don't know why, because it clearly says Battle Spectra on the package. But I think it's the local store when it came out called them metallic inks, and forever and ever they'll be called metallic inks to me. Um, um, yeah, I mean it was a very simple set, and it didn't take much much effort to collect it.
Yeah.
Now we look at some of these sets, and I mean masterpieces with the various tiers, but there's ages coming out at some point soon, which is a massive, massive set, like 340 something different cards, not including one of ones and stuff like that.
Oh wow, yeah. But that's what when they would talk on the show, they would talk about like Premiere, and I was like, I do not understand. Like, I don't get how is it, why is this so expensive? Like, I don't get. And then like those have a sketch in every single box, every single pack,
Two.
something like that.
So you get
That's
a standard size sketch
uh-huh.
as well as something oversized. So it's either dual panel, three panel, quad
Oh,
panel,
that's cool.
or five by
Okay.
seven.
Yeah.
But
And it's
yeah,
like that makes sense. I didn't understand that initially, and then like yeah.
it is a
And
sketch focused set.
yeah.
So, you know, and I'm sure I might be jumping the gun here. If I'm assuming there's going to be another premiere set or something similar.
Uh-huh.
Um, and I would imagine that maybe at some point somebody at Upper Deck would ask you if you want to contribute to it.
Hmm.
Yeah, people
Yeah,
would
yeah.
be quite excited.
Yeah. Yeah, well it's just it's really cool after like a, you know, a lengthy absence to come back in and just see like all the stuff that's been going on uh when I've been elsewhere. And I think like the whole sketch card thing is probably one of my favorite things that I didn't know about until recently, and it's like, oh man, how cool is this?
Yeah,
Like
It's
open a pack and there's actual original artwork in the pack that you're holding. You don't have to
yeah,
send away for it or anything, right? Like it's just there.
yeah, and there's a lot of collectors that chase sketch cards like almost exclusively
Hmm.
from
Yeah, I can
sets
see
because
why. I mean, yeah, it's like that's a definitely like a thing to collect. It's a really cool
I think
and
that's
pretty accessible thing to get into as far as collecting original art.
yeah,
And there's
and
so much out of it.
probably the only true one of one that really exists there. Because
Yeah,
anything else, that even if it's a one of one, um, Battle Spectra or whatever is a one of one, there's more than one print that was made,
hmm,
right? Because this has to be a color proof, there has to be a backup somewhere. Maybe the printing plates are the only other thing that it's truly unique.
those are cool too. I like that they do that. I think that's a neat idea.
Yeah, and that's another rare item. Um, so I said the comments. Oh, Jalen Warner says he just got an email from Ollie. Okay to post sketches. I'll check my
Oh,
email after. If you can talk
there you
about,
there you go.
you can talk about it. Looks like maybe your Magic sketch card popped up. Did you do a Magic?
Yes. Oh,
Yeah.
somebody
Okay.
got it?
Somebody got it. It's in the Marvel Masterpiece Collector group. That it says in
Okay,
it.
I think that that one had been previewed in the video, but if somebody got it, that's awesome. That was another one. That was another character that I was kind of felt like I didn't think to ask to do that character, and then afterwards I was like, this would have been a cool one to do, so I want to do one in here.
She's a popular one for sure.
Yeah.
Um, oh no, nobody got it. It was posted a few weeks ago. Yeah, so it's one of the preliminary, like one
Yeah,
of
it's
the
from the preview then. Yeah.
didn't pop out yet.
Well,
All right.
it's out there somewhere.
Yeah. Um, so Ian's saying a Premiere pack is the same as a box, 5 cards, 2 or 3 sketches per pack.
Wait,
Uh,
so a premiere pack is a box?
yeah, because you get a metal tin,
Oh, right. Okay.
right?
Yeah.
It's beautiful tin, but I mean, it's pricey. And yeah, he also says, "Welcome home, Dave."
Thank you.
Um, there's more to that. Uh, or reading comments 10 minutes later.
Well, I'm signing here, so I'm gonna be wrapping up in a second, but
Yeah. No,
certainly uh, able to hang out a few more minutes if there's other questions.
I'm quickly checking the comments. Anybody else got anything else you want to ask? Um, let's see. Well, see if anything else comes in last minute. Thanks so much for taking time to do this.
Yeah, this is
Um,
fun. I'm glad that that we did it, and yeah, like I said, this is the first time I've actually painted on a live stream, and felt pretty good. I was thinking right before we got on, like if I had been really on top of things, I would have pulled out one of my APs to work on, but then I think I might have been a little bit stressed out about that. So it doesn't really matter if this one doesn't work. I can always, you know, stick it in a drawer and forget about it, but kind of don't want to mess up one of those.
right. So, I have some quick question. Are there prelim art things that'll be available for sale? So I guess the question is there any original preliminary art that you'll have up for this?
Yeah, there's gonna be so the ones from the base set are all um, those all have been sent to Upper Deck for redemptions. So
Okay.
those I don't have, but the holofoil, canvas gallery, and battle spectras I will be making available most of them. Um, but right now I'm just kind of getting focused on the finished pieces, which I'm gonna be putting a bunch up tomorrow, and then I'm gonna be putting new ones up every week for the next, I think, like 8 weeks or something.
Mhm.
Probably I'll do the prelims after that, but I might change my mind and do them sooner. I haven't fully decided what the schedule is going to be yet. But yeah, I have an email list specifically for Marvel masterpieces. If anybody wants to message me their email, I'll make sure that they get info before stuff goes up for sale. And
Um, best place to reach you just Facebook Messenger, or do you want me to post an
uh,
address in the comments?
that Facebook Messenger works. Also, if they just go um, to my website, my email is up in the top left corner, and they can just email me directly there. Sometimes Facebook has like the filtered messages, and I usually remember to check those. But they also have like the secret filtered messages, and I don't always remember to check those. And I have no idea how it works, but
Okay, so
um,
I'm gonna put your website, which is the bvpalumbo.com.
yeah. If
I'm gonna put that.
anybody asks to get on the mailing list and I don't respond to you, ask me again, because I try to make sure to respond to everybody just to thank them. And if you don't get a thank you from me, that means I probably didn't see your message. Uh, but yeah, and then you said prelims of prelims. There actually might be something along those lines. Don't I haven't quite figured it out yet. I am talking to Norin at the podcast about an idea I have for some rougher, because like the prelims are the little paintings.
Yeah.
Um, I want to talk to him about doing something with some rougher pieces I have, but I just haven't had a chance to really kind of wrap my head around it yet. So I have an
Well,
idea, and there will be more info, I'm sure, on the Facebook group once that happens to turn into something more than just an idea in my head.
I mean, I know just looking at the comments, it's as the article now, there is high demand for any of the preliminary sketches, concepts. I mean, I saw, I can't remember which video you had where you showed the Venom
Oh yeah,
prelim, and
yeah.
I froze frame and drooled over that for about 10 minutes.
Yeah,
So I'm sure I'm not the only one.
I mean going back to, we were talking much earlier about doing those the little oil studies as sketches, and that was something else that was just a big motivation for me to switch over to doing physical sketches, like little paintings. Was at that time I was more into collecting art, and uh, not that I'm not into it now, but like I said, I just have not been actively doing it because of space limitations. But one of the things I really liked collecting was preliminary pieces and color studies, and that was something that you don't see too much of anymore. But a lot of the 20th century, early and mid 20th century artists would do that stuff. And I just remember like going to Illustration House's booth at Comic Con and looking through just like a whole box full of Robert McGinnis pencils that are all like, 4 by 6 inch little perfect uh, line art, you know,
Right.
simplifications of his covers, and just being like, this is the coolest thing. So uh, yeah, uh, it's just something that I think, again, like, seemed to me like, okay, this is going to be something that I think is cool, so hopefully other people will think is cool too. So
Yeah, and like I said, people are gonna, if you make any of that stuff available, people will clamor over it.
yeah,
Um,
well, definitely the painted ones for sure. And like I said, if I can get this other idea together that I want to do, I'm not trying to be mysterious. I just don't have anything to say about it right now, other than there's something else that I think would be cool to do, and I just have to figure out how it will work. So
Right. Well, let us know. And for anyone that's watching, not on the Marvel Masterpiece Collectors, if you're a collector, if you're into the hobby, I'll hop over to Facebook and just search for Marvel Masterpiece Collectors. That's the group that Dave was talking about. Um, Great community dedicated exclusively to the Marvel Masterpieces.
yeah, it's been really fun. Thank you so much for bringing me on, and it's been great talking with you. Your piece is looking super cool.
Thanks.
I
Appreciate it.
I I'm glad you got me over my fear of live streaming art.
You should do it. You'll have, I'm sure you'll have lots of people tuning in.
So cool, and thank you, Ian. I see Ian's comment there.
Yeah. Thank you, Ian. Thank you, JD, John, Alan, Michael, lots of people. Michael
Yes,
Monshaw,
yes,
Scott
everybody,
Monshaw. There's, yeah, tons of people. Matt Fowler.
everybody who's been commenting also, I appreciate the questions, and yeah, it's been good.
Awesome. Well, Dave, again, thank you so much for joining. Thank you for making this happen. Everyone, thanks for tuning in, and catch you next time.
All right, thanks so much.
Take care.
So long. Bye.